number 69. I'm so funny. Before I start the video, I'd just like to make it clear that I'm talking about these creators' characters they act out in a roleplay. It's just a series, therefore is a story, therefore has characters, and therefore needs character analysis. The DreamSmp is entertainment, and entertainment only, and nothing I say in this video should be taken seriously. So who is TOMMYINNIT? In summary, TOMMYINNIT is a 16-year-old child soldier. He plays a major role in the SMP, sometimes called the protagonist, and was formerly vice president of Lmanburg. Despite that role, he's still basically a child, and is very energetic and aggressive. He denies a lot of things, like mistakes and sometimes even affection. But Tommy is also a product of manipulation and trauma, a character of self-doubt in a cycle of confusion. Now let me just get it out here. Tommy is prone to manipulation when he's without Tubbo, and Tubbo's prone to manipulation when he's without Tommy. Tommy and Tubbo's dynamic plays a very important part in the story. It's been fairly consistent throughout the SMP. Their individual personalities naturally stabilize the other, balancing them out to avoid any sudden chaos or mistreatment. But to understand why this is, we must go over why Tommy acts the way he does. Wilbur has been Tommy's only family figure throughout the majority of the SMP. Tommy cares deeply for Wilbur. In the past, he looked up to him as a role model and wanted to follow in his footsteps. What really bothers me is the fact that his father, Philza, wasn't there for Tommy for the majority of this war, and only showed up as a quote-unquote last line of defense when Wilbur is about to blow up Lmanburg. This could explain why Tommy is the way he is, and his hostility towards others, since children who experience traumatic events with no family to comfort them, or even children who grow up with no family at all, tend to be more careful with who they surround themselves with. They also start seeking attention in places where it's dangerous or not wanted. An example of this is causing trouble, acting impulsively, and flat-out insulting people. This is why he cares so much for Wilbur and Tubbo. And I could be stretching, but this could also explain why Tommy irrationally depends so much on titles and material things for validation like his disc, because he had no figure to properly prove what he's worth in a healthy way, but I'll go back to that later. Fast forward a little bit and Lmanburg is recovering from the events of the First War. Everything they've worked for is gone to shit, but it's alright because they can fix it. And surprisingly, it's peaceful. This was Tommy's mindset for a short while, but all of that changes when he invites Schlatt to the server. Wilbur held a rigged election, but then quickly lost to Schlatt. He revoked Tommy and Wilbur's citizenship and kept Tubbo at his side. And in a matter of seconds, Tommy's entire world is practically shattered. Tommy is suddenly in a state of fear, survival, and panic. He's in a stressful position, having to constantly worry about Lmanburg and Tubbo. But on top of that, he is required to be the bigger person for his own brother Wilbur. This creates a toxic relationship which causes a lot of pressure for someone adapting to a completely different environment. No one of Tommy's age should be under so much anxiety, and this causes them to lose faith in their own aspirations and goals, filling them in with the weight of having to take care of someone who should be taking care of them. Not to mention, during late exile, Wilbur developed into a more self-aware and unsympathetic character towards Tommy, repeatedly telling Tommy what he can and can't be, forcing his own intentions onto him. Tommy becoming the outlet of which Wilbur releases his shame and anger for losing his own country to an old friend. Wilbur sees himself in Tommy and tells him what he can't tell himself.
I know why you're doing this, Tommy. I know, I see it in your eyes. I see it. I can hear it in your voice. TOMMYINNIT, you're scared. TOMMYINNIT, you're scared that people are going to think differently of you. Tommy, when I said you're never going to be president, you got to understand that wasn't a challenge. That's true. You're never going to be president.
So, Tommy is being degraded and stripped of his freedom, having no room to be his energetic and chaotic self because of the abusive situation he was put in. Even when he's in exile with Wilbur, he's still alone. This goes on for a while. Wilbur's mental health is gradually worsening and Tommy is forced to simply watch. And no matter how many cruel comments Wilbur throws at him, Tommy believes his brother is still in there because of the blind faith he has in him. But I can't say the same for when he entrusts Tubbo's entire life into Wilbur's hands, just hoping Techno won't kill him on Schlatt's command during the festival. So when Tommy declines Wilbur's proposal to be president after Schlatt's defeat, following Wilbur making Tubbo president, it's almost too perfect. Until... And the pure terror on Tommy's face is heartbreaking. Wilbur actually wanted to give Tommy the presidency for the sole reason of blowing it up in his face. proving to him that he really...
Never gonna be president, Tommy.
He decided to blow up an entire nation full of people to prove a point. And right after watching his only home be demolished, he sees from a distance his father stabbing his brother Wilbur in the chest. And not to mention Technoblade, someone for a short while Tommy really trusted, summoned withers to cause even more destruction. This is an example of acute trauma, a single life-changing event that happens before the person can comprehend or process the situation. But then it's over and the tyrants are gone, and I find it amazing how Tommy still holds on to a sliver of hope that 1. Lmanburg is about togetherness, and 2. It's him and Tubbo versus Dream. Not long after the season finale, Tommy's shockingly doing well. He shows no sign of emotional turmoil and is back to his chaotic self. One thing I noticed though is how Tommy kept on bringing new guests to the SMP after Wilbur's death. It could be a coping mechanism since it's really safe to say that Tommy is very extroverted, or it could just be a weird coincidence, but let's get to the point. Tommy is much more relaxed now that Lmanburg is in Tubbo's hands. He has the same assurance he had in the beginning, and now that he's free from Wilbur, he gets to be himself again. And for a split second, everything's alright, right? So Tommy got exiled again, but this time it's much more serious because, well, Tubbo did it. It took a much bigger toll on him since he just got his best friend back. And you can't really blame Tubbo for exiling Tommy either. Tommy was acting irrationally, and his sense of safety brought back his large ego. At the time, he wasn't streaming for a while, and not 10 minutes into his new stream, or the Exile Day, he pitches a horrible idea to team up with Technoblade. The audience, and I'm assuming Tubbo as well, was very confused and maybe even pissed. Technoblade even confirms it himself that it was a bad idea. And it only gets worse when he tries to outsmart Dream. I think he just assumed that Dream can be emotionally attached to things like he is, but we all know how that went.
I don't give a fuck about Spirit.
While Tommy is in exile in this remote island, he usually has no visitors but the ghost of his dead brother from time to time. Again, Tommy is very extroverted and he needs people in his life. When extroverts are lonely, they become uninspired and are given the time to think more to themselves. Not long after the exile, we get a peek into the darkest part of Tommy's arc. He's starting to show suicidal tendencies, seeking the end of his life because he's lost everything he's had, therefore he has no connection to the world. The first time we see this is when he's gazing over a lava pool in the nether. Dream is quick to prevent this, saying it's not your time to die, Tommy, and at first glance this is a kind act, but when you look closely, Dream is just trying to keep Tommy alive so he can continue his torture cycle, and so he can use Tommy in the long run. Dream actively manipulates and gaslights Tommy, changing and worsening his perception on his friends, especially Tubbo. And it sounds almost familiar.
Claiming to be on our side, they're lying to us. Tubbo, he's lying to you, man. He would drop us at the second.
No.
He also grows very dependent on Dream, considering him his friend and actually enjoying it when he visits him, despite him being his rival. Tommy is very desperate for people, and it's a very heart-wrenching sight the audience watches for a week or two. And you could actually notice all the past war trauma that comes back to Tommy. All the times he's brushed it off and covered it up with his facade, it makes up for itself in a powerful wave. It's messy, and most of the time it's just scratching the surface and not even accurate. Tommy is at his most vulnerable and is more irrational than ever. He feels abandoned and tries to get his friends back the only way he knows how, through a good impression. He believes the only thing connecting him and the people around him are his items and influence. Example of this are his discs, ugly cobblestone intimidation towers, a good bridge, tourist attractions, and even a beach party. When you're traumatized, you try to avoid anything close to that trauma, and in order to do that, you try to gain whatever makes you safe by any means possible. Like how Catra wanted to be powerful, so Shadow Weaver wouldn't hurt her, or how Zuko wanted his honor, so his father might love him. And in this case, Tommy wants to be the best, so that his friends may come back. But he fully accepts that they won't when Dream rigs the beach party invitations. This reinforces Tommy's trust in Dream, and he's actually happy with him. Dream gives Tommy a sense of security, power, and trust, something Tommy has never had all at once. But it's not real, and it's even sick. Dream is a very twisted character. His arc has very little substance and makes no sense at all because Dream has no good motive to be the most powerful. He's a control freak and knows how to get to people, and when Tommy is in exile, he also tries to control Tubbo, because he knows that there can't be a Tommy without a Tubbo, and vice versa. He attempts suicide again when Dream finds out about a secret room Tommy kept from him. He detonates his home for like the third time and leaves him. Dream made it look like it was Tommy's fault, and of course Tommy felt a bit guilty.
Well, I'm really sorry though.
But then he quickly comes to the realization that Dream has been manipulating him, and he leaves his exile to live with Technoblade. And you start noticing a strange and maybe unhealthy pattern. Tommy actively goes to Technoblade for help and comfort. We see this when Schlatt banished him and Wilbur, right before Exile, and now. And it's not that I think Techno's the villain, because, well, he's not, but every time Tommy seems to do this, it ends up going horribly. This brings us to Confliction. Tommy is recovering from Dream's manipulation, and it's not a very accurate example of recovery, but oh well. He moved in with Technoblade, and he surprisingly treats Tommy well, and for once it's actually a really healthy environment for Tommy. But he's still been hurt and has mixed emotions about Dream and sometimes even Tubbo. He genuinely questions Tubbo's loyalty, which is expected since he didn't really visit him during his exile. He's able to go back to Lmanburg, sure, but he keeps minimal contact with his old friends. We see him revert back to his old annoying self, and once again things are peaceful, but that quickly ends because, you know, you can't have shit when you're in the MCYT fandom. Technoblade is at the moment Tommy's only role model he's had in a while, and that's understandable, but when he starts adopting his morals and habits, like he did with Wilbur, it becomes a problem. They strike Lmanburg with minor acts of terrorism, and the next day are framed for the griefing of the community house, the first and oldest building on the server. Here I finally found a good example of Tommy struggling for identity.
I'm not the person I want to be.
The time he spent with Wilbur and Dream really disturbed his idea of who he is because, well, that's one of the effects of manipulation. Abused children often learn from their abuser and do what they do. The actuality of their personality is suppressed and replaced with the personality of the abuser in order to survive punishment. Then Lmanburg is blown up for the last time. Dream has technically won and he disappears into the night, which I find odd. He finally got what he wanted, so now what? I can't say for sure because Dream is a very hard character for me to read. It's also been shown that he has no attachment to things or people like Spirit and, shockingly, even George and Sapnap. And I sure hope that Tommy's character goes somewhere because, well, Dream is scared of him. That's why he had to separate him. He knows without Wilbur he'll just become more ambitious and chaotic, and Dream isn't fond of that. He even indirectly said it himself, a long time ago. Whatever happens next I know will be big. The DreamSmp finale, Wilbur or Schlatt's resurrection, I don't know. But then again, who am I to tell you what to think?